Greetings, love. Um, I hope you had an awesome day. Ooh, I didn't mean to do that. There we go. Oh, am I gonna get you back? I don't see anything. Oh, there I am. Welcome to the page, love. My name's Denelzia. I'm in the middle of writing a book, and I thought I'd share it with you. And coughing, things of that nature. So the last 30 minutes did not record, and I didn't want to lose my work since it was my first time doing it on the computer. So I did not edit it. I just saved it all. And then yeah. So it's good for about 1 hour and 20 minutos. So I'm gonna start with what I didn't finish. Well, what was muted yesterday. Now, yesterday I talked about the symbols at the African burial ground in Manhattan, what they were. I also went ahead and I talked about how I felt about the people at the crypto ball and the inauguration. I defined what fascism was and I went through some examples. I also discussed what oligarchy is. And then I also paid homage to former President Jimmy Carter. Bless him and his family. May he rest in power. Amen. Let's see here. Today was a pretty good day. I rested. I sound much better now than I did yesterday. Still under the weather, but definitely better. Not sneezing, coughing, and hacking all over the place. I watched quite a bit of videos for educational purposes, and my favorite uh, so far, I must admit, has been hearing about the reactions from people who went from TikTok to Red Note and are finding out some things. And I've seen some pictures. It looks gorgeous over in China, actually. Very futuristic. Nobody's homeless. I think that is great. And then the ladies were talking about the handsome men that were telling them they are available uh, internationally to other women. I just laughed. And then they have got some great weather over there because I Googled their weather. And I said, well, I wonder if there's any beaches. And so I looked and there's plenty of beaches. They do have storms, though. I don't care for storms. It is low storms in some areas. And they've got some great bee laws and things of that nature. I was looking at them. Um, so, yeah, I had a good time finding out education about that. And then also catching up on what some of these new executive um, legislators or laws were passed today. I did go ahead and I studied that as well for what he signed, um, going to move forward with. And let's see if we can bring that up a minute. Since I did take notes, we'll go through that real quick. And then we'll start prayer and we'll get started on part 2 of the book. Let's see. Let's see. I believe I recorded like 13 that he put into effect. Political proposals summary. Here we go. All right. So, he signed a series of executive orders, and actions on his first day back in office. Immigration and Border Security, National Border Emergency Declaration. Declared a national emergency at the U.S.-Mexico border to enhance security measures. Financial Times. Birthright Citizen Policy issued an executive order aiming to rescind birthright citizen for children born to unlawfully present immigrants challenging the 14th Amendment, The Guardian. There's 22 states opposing that right now. Pardons for January 6 defendants, granted pardons to approximately 1,500 individuals involved in the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot, The Guardian. Trade and tariffs, tariff implementation announced a 25% tariff on imports from Canada and Mexico effective February 1st, 2025. Financial Times. Withdrawal from Paris Climate Agreement initiated the process to exit the Paris Climate Agreement, signaling a shift in environmental policy. The Guardian. Emergency policy, National Energy Emergency Declaration declared a national energy emergency to expedite fossil fuel projects and reduce reliance on renewable energy sources. The Guardian. Gender identity policy issued an executive order recognizing only 2 genders, biological male and female, effectively ending federal recognition of transgender and non-binary identities. Wikipedia. Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, DEI, programs ordered a halt to DEI programs in the private sector aiming to eliminate what he termed radical practices within federal agencies. The Guardian. Technology and Communications, TikTok pause. Temporarily paused the federal ban on TikTok, directing the Attorney General to review the material over the next 75 days. Technology and Communication, administrative actions, revocation of previous executive orders, rescinded 78 executive orders and memoranda issued by the previous many related to the climate change and DEI initiatives, The Guardian. Federal employment reclassification, reclassified federal employees to make it easier to dismiss them, aiming to streamline government operations, The Guardian. International relations withdrawal from the World Health Organization initiated the process to withdraw the U.S. from the WHO, citing concerns over its handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. Miscellaneous renaming the Gulf of Mexico issued an executive order to rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, a move that has sparked controversy, The Guardian. Immigration reform, trade protectionism, energy independence, social policy changes. Many of these measures are expected to face legal challenges and may have significant implications for U.S. domestic and foreign policy. This is day one. Let's say a prayer. And I'm going to use the symbols at the African Burial Ground in Manhattan for prayer, like I did yesterday. O infinite source of life, we rise this day in gratitude, standing before these symbols of wisdom as vessels of remembrance, resilience, and renewal. In Sibiri, may the threads of connection unite us, weaving love, harmony, and balance through every action. Nosaroma, under the watchful stars, remind us of our divine origin, that our paths may shine with purpose and clarity. Nyami Barimbi Wo Soro, strengthen our faith in the unseen goodness, assuring us that our prayers are heard and answered in due time. Asasi Yidura, keep us grounded in the strength of the earth, rooted in its abundance and steady under life's burdens. Gayi Nayami, O sovereign one who reigns above all, let your presence be the foundation of our courage and hope. Yai Wan Yai, burn within us the fire of endurance, so that no challenge may ever extinguish the light of our spirit. Ankh, bless us with the internal flow of life, that we may cherish each moment and build legacies of meaning. Medicine wheel, heal our wounds and align our spirits, guiding us towards harmony within ourselves and with the world. Latin cross, may your boundless love and sacrifice inspire our days, filling our hearts with grace and forgiveness. Tanit, awaken in us the sacred power of creation, honoring the balance that sustains life. Mam Brigitte, keep the wisdom of the ancestors alive in our hearts, that their strength may be our shield and insight our guide. Yowa, teach us to honor life's cycles, embracing every season as a moment of growth and renewal. Baron, deepen our connection to the spirits of the past, that their legacy may illuminate our present and future. Mat Masi, grant us the wisdom to learn and the courage to remember. For in knowledge lies the key to transformation. Akomo Natoso, unite us in patience, empathy, and love, that we may build communities of strength and compassion. For Tumfunfu Dinki Mi Funi Fu, show us the power of unity amidst difference, that harmony may arise even in tension. Dweem Nimin, help us balance humility and power, walking with heads bowed to wisdom, yet raised in courage. Dimki, bless us with the ability to adapt and endure, flowing with life's challenges like rivers finding their way to the sea. Okona, fill our hearts with balanced love, that we may heal, nurture, and uplift one another. Sankofa, call us to retrieve the wisdom of the past and shape it into the foundation of a brighter tomorrow. Legba, keeper of the crossroads, open the gates of opportunity. Guide us to make choices that lead to fulfillment and destiny. Insibidi journey, bless our steps with clarity and purpose, that every path we tread be filled with grace and intention. Niami Baribi Wosoro, may we always look to the heavens with hope, knowing that goodness awaits those who trust in your divine plan. O Creator, on this new day, may these symbols of the African burial ground in Manhattan infuse us with strength, lift our spirits, and inspire us to walk in harmony and love. Ashe, Amen. So it is. You can find more prayers at my Substack page, Denelsia, and it'll be in the description. Let's get started with where we left off yesterday, where the video went mute. Again, we covered fascism, Obligachi, Jim Carter presidency, and who was at the crypto ball and inauguration. All right. Fascism sounds like a mental health issue. That's where we left off at. I'm going to share my screen. Just a minute. Share screen. I just learned yesterday how to share a screen. So, good practice for the future. We are sharing this right here. Thank you. Should be popping up any minute. Is it sharing? It says sharing. I don't see any sharing. Okay. Well, maybe it'll kick in a minute. But it says it's sharing. All right. There I am. Okay, so we talked about fascism and religion. All right, so mental health issue. Psychological foundations of fascism. Fear and uncertainty. Fascism often arises during times of crisis, economic instability, cultural shifts, war, when people feel unsafe or powerless. Leaders exploit this fear by offering simple authoritarian solutions which can feel comforting. Need for identity and belonging. People crave a sense of belonging, and fascism provides a strong group identity based on nationalism or exclusion of others. Thank you for your patience, by the way. Um, the us versus them mentality satisfies a psychological need to feel superior or secure. Scapegoating. Fascist regimens direct collective frustration and anger toward specific groups, immigrants, minorities, LGBTQ plus people. This redirects blame away from the government or larger systemic problems. Authoritarian personality. Some individuals are psychologically predisposed to value obedience, order, and authority. I'm going to open up this document real quick. Let's see. There we go. Oh, duh. Yeah, okay. These traits align with fascist ideologies where submission to a strong leader is encouraged. Dehumanization. Fascism relies on dehumanizing others, which reduces empathy and makes violence or discrimination more acceptable. This aligns with cognitive biases that simplify complex issues into black and white thinking. Mental health connection. Collective trauma. Is there a space in the middle? Nope, can't do that. People recovering from war, poverty, or oppression may be more vulnerable to fascist rhetoric that promises protection. Manipulation of emotions, propaganda, and fear mongering play on anxiety, anger, and hopelessness. Exploiting mental vulnerabilities. Moral disconnecting, just as mental health issues can distort individual thinking. Societal pressures under fascism can distort collective ethics and compassion. Addressing the issue. Understanding the psychological roots of fascism helps us recognize how it manipulates emotions and beliefs. Fostering critical thinking, empathy, and resilience in individuals and community is key to resisting these tendencies. The question. Fostering critical thinking, empathy, and resilience in individuals and community is key to resisting the tendencies. What? Yes, honey. The answer, yes. Toward authoritarianism, authoritarianism, and division. Here's how to nurture these qualities. Critical thinking. Teach media literacy. Promote open dialogue. Encourage curiosity. Challenge simplistic narratives. So encourage people to question sources, recognize bias, and fact-check information. Create spaces where different viewpoints can be respectively discussed and debated. Foster a culture where asking questions and seeking evidence is valued over accepting easy answers. Help people understand the complex problems rarely have simple solutions. Empathy. Cultivate compassion. Share stories and experiences of marginalized groups to humanize them and break down stereotypes. Teach people to listen without judgment and understand others' perspectives. Volunteer work and community projects can help individuals connect with diverse groups. Art, literature, and music and can evoke emotions and build bridges between people of different backgrounds. Yes, it can. I have seen people listening to music, don't understand the word of the music, but they like the music, so they got it blasting anyway. It does. Art and storytelling. Resilience. Build emotional strength. Teach coping strategies for dealing with fear, uncertainty, and anger. Promote collective action. Encourage communities to come together to solve problems, fostering a sense of empowerment. Educate on history. Understanding past mistakes like the rise of fascism can help prevent repeating them. Encourage grassroots leadership. Empower individuals to take small, meaningful actions that contribute to positive change. Why it matters. When people can think critically, empathize with others, and bounce back from challenges, they are less likely to fall prey to divisive rhetoric and fear-based manipulation. These qualities strengthen democracy, encourage inclusion, and promote a society that values fairness and justice. A lot crossed my mind reading all that. Um, okay. Divisive rhetoric and fear-based manipulation. The answer. They're tools used by authoritarian leaders or groups to gain and maintain power by exploiting emotions and dividing people. Here's how it works. Divisive rhetoric. Language or messaging that creates us versus them mentality, pitting groups against each other. I wonder if it was those hand gestures Elon Musk was doing on stage for the inauguration. I'm just saying. Divisive rhetoric. They love to try to install fear, don't they? Okay. I see a lot when he won the election. I seen people crying and I said, I'm not doing any of that crap. Okay. Nobody had enough sense to arrest him and lock him up before the president's done? And he's voted in? Alrighty then. We're going to talk about some things in a minute. Purpose: to fracture unity, shift blame into specific groups, and rally support from one side. Examples: blaming immigrants for unemployment or crime, taking the black jobs. Claiming one religion or ethnicity is superior to others. That would be Christianity, except they're not practicing Christianity. Stereotyping groups like LGBTQ plus. Oh, we just gonna take transgender out completely and not recognize? Okay. People or minorities as threats to traditional values. Traditional values. Impact: causes social division, mistrust, and hostility between groups. Distracts from real issues like economic equality or systemic corruption. Social division, mistrust, and hostility. I wonder what in the tinker box upstairs makes them want to cause those things. That's not something that was ever installed in me. I had to learn through personal experiences what that was, and dealing with humanity and humans, what that was. Social division, mistrust, and hostility. Those are taught. Just like hate is taught. It can be unlearned, all of it. But I don't know what in the tinker box upstairs causes something like that to click in somebody to say, this is what I want to do. Okay. Fear-based manipulation. Using fear to control people's thoughts, decisions, or behavior. Purpose: to make people feel unsafe and reliant on the leader or system promising protection. Welcome, sweetheart. All right. Okay. We're discussing mental health and fascism. All right. Examples: exaggerating threats from foreign nations or internal enemies, claiming outsiders will destroy the culture or take resources, warning that dissent or questioning authority will lead to chaos. None of those are going to do that. You know what's going to lead to chaos? We've the same economy we had back in, let's say, 1977. That was the year I was born. I was watching a video today, and paychecks increase, inflation increases. Excuse me. All these increases, but because of all the increases since 77 was the year that I was provided. Production has increased, but you're basically getting paid the same thing. By the time inflation and everything is done, you're basically getting paid the same thing that you were back in 1977. So productivity's increased and everything, but there's nothing to show for the hard work and the productivity. Is what this video was pretty much saying that I was watching. So we can't blame foreign nation, internal enemies, outsiders, and you should always be able to question authority. Definitely. All right, impact. Promotes compliance by making people too scared to question the leader or systems. You know what that reminds me of? I question everything. Everything. When I was growing up in church, you don't question this, you don't question that, you just accept it for what it is. You better not. You better go read. You better go learn something. You better go learn where it came from, who created it. Question everything. Everything. Suppress critical thinking as fear encourages emotional reactions over logical analysis. Suppress critical thinking. Church teaches you how to act. Church, temple, mosque, whatever religion you're in. Doesn't teach you how to think. Teaches you how to act. Good books do have some wisdom, but you still must use critical thinking skills no matter what book it is. Why it's dangerous. Erodes trust, divides people, making it harder to build strong, supportive communities. Destroys truth, fear, and division, make people more susceptible to propaganda and lies. Empowers tyranny. Leaders use fear and division to justify authoritarian measures like restricting freedoms or targeting certain groups. TikTok's not the end. They're not done. First, it was online age verification for adult sites. Then TikTok had a blackout for a little bit. They're not done messing with you. So if those kind of things mess with you and cause you anxiety or whatever else because of what they're doing, some of you got businesses and things of that nature you got to think of. You know what? I'm glad we're at this point right now. If you have a huge social media, I don't know if you would call it a gathering, as far as people, as far as subscriptions, subscribers, things of that nature, you need to be able to capture their information via Substack or via your website or however you want to do it. Because if they flip that social media switch and says we're shutting it down, we don't want y'all talking, we don't want you having any freedoms. If something were to change tomorrow, you need to make sure you have kept everybody's information so you can keep in touch. Via email or text message, whether it be Substack, MailChimp, whatever you want to use, a text messaging system. Yeah. How to counter it. Excuse me. I'm better, but I'm not 100. I made some fruit tea. It's delicious. Promote unity. Highlight shared goals and values instead of differences. Challenge fear-mongering. Fact-check claims that exaggerate threats or demonize groups. Encourage empathy, listen to and understand people from diverse backgrounds to break down stereotypes. Teach critical thinking and media literacy to help people recognize manipulation tactics. By standing against divisive rhetoric and fear, individuals and communities can build stronger, more inclusive societies. The question: once fascists are in office, how likely are they to keep promises to help people out they are presiding over, is what I meant. The answer: the likelihood of elected officials keeping their promises to help the people they serve depends on several factors, including their integrity, the political system, external pressures, and public accountability. Here's a breakdown. Factors influencing promise keeping: personal integrity and leadership style. Officials with a strong ethical background, foundation, and genuine concern for the public good are more likely to fulfill promises. Opportunistic or power driven leaders may prioritize self interest over public welfare. Ooh, that sounds like leaving people in the cold. Sounds like leaving people in the desert. Self interest. Having them come out, taking buses, and sounds like not shipping them back home on them same buses. Like them having to walk in the desert 5 miles to get into car. Blazing hot, no food or water. Let's keep going. That's what it sounds like. Political environment. Sounds like people running over on January 6th. You know what? Let's just political environment, supportive legislatures, and official ability to deliver demands on cooperation from lawmakers. A divided government can stall progress. Public accountability. Active citizen engagement, public pressures, protests, or campaigns can hold leaders accountable. Media and transparency. Investigative journalism and transparency expose broken promises and encourage action. Promises made versus feasibility. Achievable goals, specific realistic promises, increased funding for schools by 10% are more likely to be kept. Overpromising, vague, or unrealistic promises in poverty completely often go unfilled due to complexity. External pressures, economic factors, recession, inflation, or crisis can limit resources and force priorities to shift. Lobbying and special interest. Leaders influenced by corporate or elite donors may abandon promises that conflict with their backers' interest. Excuse me, y'all. Thank you for your patience. Still getting well. Research on promise keeping. Studies suggest elected officials keep about 60 to 7% of their promises, 60 to 70%, in democratic systems, but fulfillment rates vary by context. Local governments are often more effective in addressing community-specific issues due to proximity to constituents. National governments face more constituents such as international relations, partisanship, and economic instability. Ways to improve accountability. Stay informed. Track officials' voting records and public statements. Use tools like government websites and watchdog organizations. Attend town or participate in democracy. Attend town halls, write to representatives, and vote in every election. Yes, honey, I had to write my representative and take a trip down to the state, honey. State office. Because the attorney general, they all be on something when they did that age verification. So I had to, it's my first trip to the state building. Yeah, that was an experience. Join advocacy groups that align with your values, like ACLU. They like to protect freedom of speech. I believe that's what their name is. Demand transparency, push for open meetings, audits, and public reporting on progress toward campaign goals. Support leaders who deliver, reward trustworthy officials by re-electing them and holding others accountable for unmet promises. Bottom line, while not all promises are kept, proactive engagement, a critical public and supportive system can increase the likelihood of leaders serving their constituents effectively. That's how it normally looks. Me, what if they are fascist? I'm asking from that perspective. The answer. When a fascist or authoritarian leader takes office, the likelihood of them keeping promises to help the people is typically low, unless those promises align with their goals of consolidating power or controlling society. Here's how the dynamic plays out. Promises to the majority: what they promise: economic stability, national pride, security, and restoration of traditional values. What they deliver: they may provide short-term benefits, infrastructure projects, employment programs to gain support, but these are often unsustainable or exploitative. True goal: they aim to secure loyalty and suppress dissent, not genuinely improve long-term well-being. Promises to marginalized groups. What they promise: sounds like a bad, horrible boyfriend in an abusive relationship. Domestic, yeah. Inclusion or protection, often made to appear fair and just to broader audiences. These promises are usually abandoned or weaponized against the groups they claim to help, often leading to discrimination, surveillance, or oppression. Promises under national security. Promises about what they promise: protection from enemies like immigrants, minorities, or foreign powers. What they deliver: heavy militarization, oppressive policies, and scapegoating, none of which improve safety or cohesion. Promises of prosperity. What they promise: economic growth and equality for all citizens. What they deliver: policies that concentrate wealth resources in the hands of the elite while suppressing labor rights and exploiting workers. Why faucets really help the people. Focus on power. The leaders prioritize consolidating power, often at the expense of civil liberties, democratic institutions, and public welfare. They make decisions based on loyalty and control, not the needs of the majority. Us versus them narrative. By creating divisions, they rally support from one group while marginalizing others, perpetuating conflict and inequality. Helping everyone undermines their need for an enemy to blame societal problems on. Opposition to dissent. Regimens suppress critical voices, leaving little room for accountability or advocacy for the public good. Promises to listen to the people are often replaced by censorship and propaganda. I just can't stop. Economic exploitation. Fascist governments often align with corporations or the elite, leading to exploitation of workers and resources. Wealth gaps typically widen despite promises of prosperity for all. Baby, I promise that I make it alright. I promise. Okay, what happens to those they help? Oh, just checking. Any perceived help often comes with strings attached. I don't like strings. Puppet master. I don't like strings at all. Okay, snip, snip. They create systems where people rely on the state for basic needs, ensuring loyalty. Assistance is often paired with control, such as monitoring behavior or limiting freedoms. Selective benefits. Only those who align with the regimen's value or policies receive help, creating deeper divisions. How to recognize and resist this wonderful manipulation and seduction dance that they are doing. Question motives. Look for policies that prioritize control over exclusion or exclusion over genuine improvement. Demand transparency. Push for clear, measurable actions rather than vague promises. Support civil society. Strengthen organizations and institutions that advocate for democracy, human rights, and accountability. Educate and engage. Help others recognize the tactics of manipulation and propaganda. Process leaders are unlikely to genuinely help the people they govern, as their primary goal is power, not public welfare. Any benefits they provide are often short term, selective, or tied to broader strategies of control and oppression. Regarding these patterns early, recognizing these patterns early is key to resisting and protecting democratic values. All right, I'm going to do this part, then I'm going to wrap it up and get back to it later as far as finishing some things. I learned this from watching a young lady's video. I won't mention her name because I just signed on to her the other day. And covered quite a bit. Let's do the breakdown. So I talked about yesterday the government down to the local and the breakdown, okay, for each level. So, excuse me, honey. We'll go through this. The USA, a corporation in disguise. The United States operates like a big corporation while the government should provide services like school, healthcare, and roads. It doesn't always have to. Citizens who pay taxes expect these services, but some people don't contribute to taxes, so they don't get this. So they don't get it, and we don't get the benefits. The president is like the CEO of this corporation making big decisions. Congress and the Senate are like the Human Resources Department, hiring people to manage different parts of the government. At the corporate level, other executives like the CFO, COO, and CMO set the budgets and priorities. These decisions affect how the country works, just like how a CEO's choices affect a company. At the state and local levels, government officials act like managers in a company. For example, when you vote for a mayor or governor, you're picking the person who will manage your state or city, much like choosing a manager at a job. In this system, the people are treated like assets or liability. The business and the country are seen as assets, and workers are often treated like liabilities because they need things like healthcare and education, which cost money. They're not working for free either. Americans rebranding. America's going through a rebrand, like when a company changes its logo or marketing, the flag still represents the country, but things are starting to feel more business-like. For example, roads are like the conveyor belts in the factory. When they break, the government has to pay to fix them. If there isn't enough money in the bucket, the repairs get delayed. It's all about how the business is managed, how the money is managed, just like the business. Any business. America is big business. Companies charge extra fees like tariffs. When they don't want to pay, they make the public cover the cost. Baby, you covering them costs of them tariffs, okay? That is why things like insurance and other costs keep going up. Mm-hmm. Okay. I think it's time for me to go to sleep. FOSTA style, the United States of America. And a fascist or authoritarian regimen running a country as a corporation can take on a very specific and centralized form where the leader and their lawyers manage the system with an iron grip. If a fascist were to operate a country like a corporation, here's how it might play out strategically. Not quite yet. Time to go to bed because we're going to get to this. The fascist leader will position themselves as the CEO or the ultimate authority figure, controlling our major decisions for the company, the nation. The loyalty to a personal agenda and ideology would override any democratic process or checks and balances. Loyalists would be appointed to key positions to ensure would be appointed to key positions to ensure control over the political system and military. These appointments would prioritize loyalty over expertise or merit. The system would lean towards personal allegiance and ideological conformity rather than efficiency or public benefit. Power consolidation. The leader would diminish or neutralize any opposition, whether it be political parties, media, or civil society groups, by weakening democratic institutions, limiting freedoms, and ensuring that only those who support their ideology have access to power. Honey, child. Assets and liabilities. People will be seen primarily as assets or liabilities based on their ability to contribute to the state's goal. Economic policies would favor the elite and local corporate partners, while public services and welfare could be stripped back, reducing what is offered to the broader population. Those who are deemed non-compliant or unfit might be marginalized or punished. Profit over people. The primary objective would be maximizing profits in terms of power and wealth for the leader and their inner circle, often at the expense of the people. Social programs, local protections, and environmental regulations could be stripped away in favor of business interest. Profit over people. Profit, Snoop Dogg, over. Nelly, profit over. I tried to Google how much they got paid. I didn't find nothing out, but that didn't stop me from trying to Google it. I'm thinking if Snoop did all that tap dancing just to get to the crypto ball, just for Trump not to be there, because Trump wants to drop a coin, crypto, he must have paid him a pretty penny. It did bring in about 70 billion, is what I heard. A lot of money. Profit over people. Okay. Whew. Corporate expansion, military spending, nationalist rhetoric, and international policies would focus on expanding the leader's influence. Businesses, both domestic and international, that align with the leader's ideology might receive favorable treatment, while dissenters are punished or excluded. Loyalists and my goodness, loyalists in key positions. Much like unqualified hires in corporation, loyalists would fill key positions throughout government. That's exactly what he's done. Military, law enforcement, and private industry. These individuals may lack expertise, but will be trusted for their alignment with the regiment's ideology and objective. Meritocracy is weakened. Qualified professionals might be sidelined in favor of people who know their place and follow orders, leading in efficiency and corruption within the bureaucracy. It's his playground, baby. Strategy. It's all about the strategy. It's all about strategy, baby. Corporate model of wealth and resources distribution. Oh, hold on. Yep, I went through that. Loyalist in key position. Mediocrity is weakened. Tight control of information and public perception. Tight control of information. Honey, tight. Tight. Just as corporations manage their public image through marketing and PR, a fascist government would use propaganda and media coverage to shape public opinion and push the narrative that the leader is infallible, censorship, and surveillance. Free speech and independent journalism would be stifled. The state may control or influence all media outlets, limiting alternative viewpoints, much like a corporation would restrict negative press about its CEO. Boy, he want to send folks back into. Woo. He want to. People in hell, in a pretend hell on ice water. He won't to. He won't fear over the nation, chaos, war. Baby, he a fighter, not a lover. What happened to the love? We need some Roberta Flack. Where is the love? Where is the love? Where is the love? Where is the love? All right. He ain't got no love. We need some love. Well, he might have it. He got it for the wrong thing. We need to change that. Put some Roberta in his earphones or his headphone or on his whatchamacallit or whatever he got. Economic exploitation under a corporate model. Corporate tyranny. Honey, the playground. Came to the White House to play. The government might prioritize private corporations' interest over the welfare of the working class, like shifting the burden of cost until the public, higher taxes, tariff, privatization of services. And y'all wanted the cost of eggs to go back from $6 for 12 to 99 cents, or at least $1.29. This didn't have nothing to do with eggs or gas prices, baby. Labor rights and welfare. Any remaining labor rights would be severely limited, and social safety nets might be privatized or completely removed, leaving individuals vulnerable. So, like a lot of hate and fear. Attempted. Nationalized corporations. Large sections of the economy could be either taken over by the state or operate under state control with the goal of securing loyalty. These corporations would align with the regime's interest, ensuring profits flow upward to the elite and the government. For the people who just realized, going on the Red Note app, that you are having the same human experiences as people who have a little shade, or a lot of shade, however you want to put it, and realize that they are experiencing what they could have. This is about to hit y'all pockets too. Rebranding and national identity. Boston residents are often adept at using national rhetoric to rebrand the country. The business-first approach could be paired with propaganda and paints the regime as restoring the nation to greatness. National symbols, flags, and ideologies would be used to rally the masses behind the regime. External enemies, like a corporation dealing with competitors, a fascist regime may focus on external threats, real or fabricated, to unite the population. Immigrants, minority groups, foreign nations could all be scapegoats as threats to national unity and stability. America is failing. And we are looking at everything but the strategy used for America itself. And the real reason for it failing. Y'all don't lack accountability, baby. What happened to growing up and being an adult? Instead, y'all want to go to the White House and play on the playground. All right. Under fascism, the nation would function more like a highly controlled and authoritarian corporation where power is centralized in the hands of a few. Loyalty becomes the most important qualification for power, not competence. The public is treated as a resource to be exploited for the benefit of the elite and the regime. Public welfare is deprioritized in favor of economic and political consolidation. Dissent is suppressed and information is tightly controlled to maintain the regime's narrative. This corporate-like control would favor the regime's interest in those who align with it, while ordinary citizens could be left with fewer rights, less opportunity, and less support. I found something I like to do. I was watching a video. I don't remember what video it was, but I clicked on it because it had something about high level in there, and I wanted to explore different AI concepts, things of that nature. I'm a nerd, and I found Google Trend. I just go up to my little search bar, type in, "Oh, Google Trend, what's trending today?" Oh, okay. The most Googled trend after Election Day was, how can one change their vote? People have realized that their non-research and operating blindly, being uneducated, has counted against them. They have taken to the streets to protest. You can't change your vote. And you protesting, baby. Oh, that's not going to help. I'm looking for a miracle. I see the impossible. The scenario you described is an example of backlash that can occur when people feel the consequences of their choices, especially when those choices were made hastily without sufficient information. In this case, after the election, individuals realizing the weight of their decisions might turn to protest as a way to express their dissatisfaction or regret. Here's an analysis of how the situation might unfold. Ooh, it's 4:44, boo. Realization and regret. Post-election reflection. People may come to realize that their votes, made perhaps without thorough research or out of impulsive emotions, have consequences they didn't anticipate. This sense of regret could be amplified if the person elected does not meet their expectation or engages in controversial actions that affect the public. Desire for change. As people feel their voices were accurately represented, they may seek ways to change the outcome, often focusing on what they see as an error in their decision-making process. In this case, searching for how to change their vote reflects a desire to rectify what they now perceive as a mistake. The impact of lack of research and information. Blind voting. Many people, especially those who don't do enough research before casting their vote, may find themselves disillusioned when the results don't align with their values or priorities. Misinformation. If misinformation was prevalent during the election period, such as fake news, misleading campaigns, or biased reporting, it could further exacerbate the feeling of regret. Voters might feel tricked into supporting a candidate or policy they later disagree with. Protest as a reaction to feeling voiceless. Mobilization. After realizing their vote may not align with their best interests, people may take to the streets in a protest as a way to express frustration. The protest could be aimed at the election process itself or against the outcome that they now regret supporting. Demanding change protests may center on call for changes in the political system, including reforms to the voting process, such as ranked choice voting or better access to information, or even demands for a new election if widespread dissatisfaction is felt. Let's go. The role of social media and digital tools. Amplification of voice, which is why he wants to get rid of social media, and I keep talking about that flipping of a switch. The search of how to change votes and subsequent protests may gain traction on social media, where the grievances of a few quickly spread to larger groups. The digital movement could become a catalyst for larger political movements as people organize both online and in physical spaces. Education and awareness. As protests grow, they might be fueled by a desire for better education on the voting process, the impact of elections, and how to make more informed decisions in the future. Public forums, discussions, and debates could emerge as a way to promote critical thinking about politics. Political consequences of post-election protest. Pressure on politicians. Protests often force politicians and government officials to pay attention to the dissatisfaction of the populace. In response, they might be pushed to acknowledge these concerns and perhaps implement reforms such as voter education programs or changes in how elections are run. You should give a test for folks to be able to vote. They should be able to answer a few questions to make sure everything is okay upstairs. Everything. Do you everything? And then after they've passed the questionnaire, then they can vote because he said he liked uneducated people, and we need educated people voting. They need to pass a test. Long-term cultural shifts. Political engagement. Let me put test there. The realization that votes have serious consequences may speak a long-term cultural shift towards more engaged and informed voting. People may take their civic duties more seriously in the future, doing more research on candidates, policies, and the implications of their votes before going to the polls. Empathy and understanding. A growing desire for social justice, political reform, and equitable representation could lead to a culture of empathy and solidarity where the diverse needs of the population are more carefully considered by both politicians and voters alike. In sum, the scenario suggests that people, once they understand the implications of their decisions, might be compelled to protest and to make change. Such movements can lead to broader conversations about how to ensure future elections are more transparent, inclusive, and responsive to the needs of the people. So I said, well, he plans on taking away voting altogether for the future. If a fascist leader aims to remove voting altogether in the future, this would be a significant and dangerous shift towards authoritarianism. Here's a breakdown of how that could play out, the strategies employed, and the potential consequences. We're going to run through these real quick, and it's going to be a wrap. Undermining democratic institutions, erosion of voting rights. One of the core elements of democracy is the right to vote. If a leader seeks to eliminate this right, they would be removing the foundation principle that allows citizens to have a voice in their government. This could be achieved through legal changes such as declaring elections unnecessary or instituting laws that restrict voting. Manipulation of the electoral process. They may begin by discrediting or delegitimizing, delegitimizing. Elections claiming that voting is too complicated or that the results of elections are too divisive or undemocratic. This narrative could then be used to justify removing elections altogether. I heard he stole the vote. He talked about it last night. In a Ku Klux Klan rally. Building support through fear and control. Fear-based rhetoric. The leader could use fear tactics suggesting that democracy is fragile, the chaos will ensure if elections continue, or that the people cannot be trusted to make decisions. The idea of restoring order could appeal to certain segments of society, especially if they feel disillusioned with the current system or fear the rise of opposition movements. The cult of leadership. A fascist leader of the present themselves as the presents themselves as the only person capable of leading the nation through uncertain times. The elimination of voting could be framed as a necessity for the nation's survival, with the leader positioning themselves as a figure of ultimate authority. People may be persuaded that their lives will be better under a singular authoritative leadership rather than a system that involves elections and political competition. Gradual removal of democratic safeguards. Constitutional changes. The leader might push for constitutional amendments that remove or severely limit voting rights. This could be done in a way that appears to be legal and legitimate, at least in the short term, by passing laws under the guise of reform. Legal barriers. New laws could be passed to restrict who can run for office or vote, slowly narrowing the pool of eligible voters until effectively an oligarchy or dictatorship. Alternatively, elections might be staged but controlled, giving the illusion of democratic processes while preventing real opposition from rising. So that is a term that I discussed yesterday, oligarchy. Suppression of dissent. Crackdown on protest. Any protest or movements that oppose the removal of voting rights could be met with severe repression. The government may use military or police forces to suppress these movements, citing national security or public order as justification. There's about to be some repercussions, okay? Censorship and propaganda. To further control the narrative, the leader may engage in widespread censorship of independent media and the internet. State-controlled propaganda would glorify the leader and make it seem as though they are universally beloved and the only solution to the nation's problem. Totalitarian state. Consolidation of power without elections. The leader's power is absolute and there is no legitimate way for the public to remove them from office. This would lead to totalitarian regime where power is concentrated in the hands of a single individual or a small group of loyalists. That's what they want. Loyalty over merit. As you pointed out, fascist regimes tend to place loyalty above qualifications. Key positions within the government and business sectors could be filled not by merit but by loyalty to the leader, ensuring that no opposition or dissenting voices are heard from within the system. The impact of society. Loss of political freedom in a society where voting is no longer allowed. Citizens lose their ability to express their political preferences. Over time, this could lead to a loss of personal freedom as the government increasingly controls every aspect of life. Economic and social inequality without the check of electoral accountability. The leader's policies could favor only the wealthy and powerful, exacerbating social and economic equality. This would likely lead to a widespread dissatisfaction, but without the mechanism of elections, there would be little recourse for those disenfranchised. Polarization and instability. Even in a fascist regime, there may be undercurrents of resistance. However, without elections to provide a peaceful outlet for dissent, political tension could escalate into violence or rebellion, particularly in various groups refuse to accept the lack of representation. International response. Condemnation from other nations. If a leader were to eliminate voting rights altogether, it would likely result in widespread international condemnation. Democratic nations would see this as a violation of human rights and democracy, potentially leading to sanctions, diplomatic isolation, or even intervention. Oh, honey, he wants to fight. Global protest and support for oppositions. International organizations and civil society might support internal movements for democracy and human rights, providing resources, advocacy, and platforms for those fighting against the regimen. These efforts could help bring global attention to the situation and mobilize global solidarity. Long-term consequences. Continued struggle for democracy. History has shown that authoritarian regimens often face resistance from their own people. While fascist leaders may maintain power for a time, their policies typically lead to economic decay, social unrest, and instability. Over time, pressure to restore democracy may build, especially from younger generations who have never experienced a functional democracy. The threat of civil war. There's a reason why a movie called Civil War was put out last year. Okay. If the leader's policies become unbearable, some groups may attempt to overthrow the government, leading to potential civil conflict or even rebellion. In such a case, the absence of democratic processes and the suppression of dissent can result in violent confrontation. If a fascist regimen, the removal of voting rights represents a shift from democratic participation to authoritarian rule. The move seeks to solidify the leader's control and eliminate any potential opposition. It relies on fear, propaganda, and the concentration of power to maintain authority, ultimately leading to totalitarian state. That severely limits individual freedoms and creates significant societal and international challenges. And that's where I'm going to end it. It's been about an hour and a half, hour and 32 minutes, 50 seconds. That's where I'm going to wrap it up for tonight. And tomorrow, we will start with freedom of speech. Let me see how many pages. Maybe not. It starts me at the beginning if I do that. Ain't nobody trying to do that. But yeah. Thank you for rocking with me. I appreciate all who stopped by and tuned in, love. And I will be back tomorrow with some more because I aim to finish this. And it's kind of like me doing my my read through to make sure everything makes sense for the book. And then also, I know my grammar and sentence structure is on point, but this is kind of like a final read, which will give me a before I format, make sure everything sounds all right and um, aligns how I want it to, and then putting in my little extras where I want to, and things of that nature. So, thank you, thank you for tuning in, and have a lovely rest of your morning. Mwah. Oh, duh. I'm trying to touch the screen and turn it off, boo.